Hey everybody, and welcome to the second part of modeling the bar chair. Now this is, we're going to continue where we stopped at the first video because we were running a bit long on that one. So if you haven't watched the first video, go ahead, and this is where we actually stopped at this point. So I'm going to continue exactly where we stopped in the first video. Alright, so first thing that I want to do is, before I continue on with everything else, is I want to go and further refine these two pieces over here. Now, for example, for this one, once we put on the turbo smooth, what I can notice is that I don't have enough of a definition of the piping, so that's easy to fix. And the second thing that kind of looks a bit odd for me, at least, is that this thing looks that it's a bit lower than it's supposed to be. So that's actually quite easy to fix. So just select all of these vertices and just slide them upwards a bit. That's going to deal with the problem with this thing over shooting the form there. All right, so with the turbo smooth now, the form should be right. Another thing that I did notice here is that this thing doesn't have enough of height. So what I can do is select all the top polygons in the side viewport here. I can pull this thing outwards till about there, and I think this is going to be enough. So now if we turn on the turbo smooth, this thing is going to have that look, but I do want to have one additional edge here that's going to help hold this form better. So like this. And now when we turn on turbo smooth, this thing is going to look better. So the only thing that we're missing here at the moment is the line that's going to be between the cushion and the piping. And like I said, that's actually very easy to create. All you want to do is select the line where the thing is supposed to be, like this edge around here. And what you want to do is go and extrude this with a small width. Let's just give it something like very small, and insert it inwards. So just make it like so. All right, this thing should work. So now when we turn on turbo smooth, we can actually see a nice definition for where our piping ends and where our rest starts. Now we can do the same thing for this piece as well, because I can see that I'm missing that piping as well. But before I do that, I actually want to get in here, select some of these vertices, like these guys, and not deselect the base ones. So these ones, and move them up like this. There we go. This should give us more of a look like it's being used or for seating by someone. So let's select a few more of these. Like I said, this is just fine refining this thing. Not something that's going to make or break your model, but it's going to make it better. So another thing that we want to do is just the same thing that we did over here. Go in, find the edge that's supposed to be the border where the piping starts, and go and extrude it outwards, actually inwards, with a small width amount, like so. And now when we turn on the turbo smooth, we should have something like that, which is exactly what we're going for. Just so it's a bit better to see, I'm going to change the color, make it something like this. All right, and I can probably, since I don't actually like this one, I can go in and relax this thing a bit. So go and relax, deselect, there you go. This is going to average it out, and with this I think this is just fine for now. All right, so next thing that we want to do is we want to proceed to modeling the metallic ends of this chair. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to start off with, well, let's go and create this one. So this thing here, I'm going to hold on Control, right click, and choose a rectangle. Now this rectangle is going to help me create this. Now here's the thing. When you're creating something with a perspective view for your front viewport, what you want to do here is basically you want to go to the side. I'm going to convert this to an editable spline. Move these to the back a bit. Make sure you select all of those vertices, right click and convert them to corner. So now select these and snap them on the z-axis with these. So both of them are actually on the same height. That height is going to be this line over here. Now, the thing that we want to do is we want to get both of these to a point where they're touching the front legs and both of these to a point where they're touching the back legs, like so. Now what I can see here is that the corners of this metal is rounded off. So it's not a sharp corner, but actually it's a rounded one. So I'm going to select all of my vertices and with the fillet option here, click and drag. So this is going to create that roundness that I'm looking for in my model. Now because at the moment I still cannot see the geometry for this thing, I'm going to go into rendering. Enable it in render and viewport, and this is going to give me something to work with. So in the radial, I'm going to increase the thickness to something like that, so it coincides with what I'm seeing on my image there. All right, awesome. So now I can actually select this thing, select the vertices that I created, and now move them to a point where the actual geometry is touching the legs. As you can see, right there is fine, here is fine. Go for the back, move it back a bit, like so. All right, this is going to work just fine like that. Now I can put on a edit poly on top of this thing and use it like so. But another thing that I can actually see here is that this bar is not a perfect circle, but instead at the corners here you have these little screws, and for those screws you have a bit of a indentation. So the way that we can deal with that is I'm going to actually go in here at the corners, select this thing, and I'm going to try and make this thing more planar. So with this with these polygons selected, I'm going to go and choose the make planar option, which is here, and then move it back a bit like so. So the reason for doing it like this is that now that we do once we apply a turbo smooth on this, we're going to get that flat piece right there. So what I can do here is, since I have the center here, the center or the pivot, I can center it to the object. And now what I can do is, instead of going and modeling this thing on all of the pieces, what I can do is just go over here, put a symmetry modifier, flip it around. Now put another one, this time on the z-axis, flip it around, and now with those flips I have that same thing on all sides, which is exactly what I wanted to have here. It's a small detail, but it's a interesting one, so let's keep it there. All right, so let's go and do something similar for the back arch. And for that, we're gonna start off in the left viewport. What I'm gonna do here is start with a line. So hold down Control, right click and hit line. Start from there, go down to about there and move it backwards to about there. All right, awesome. So what I want to do here is, first of all, I want to put this thing, or these two vertices of this line, in position. The way that I'm going to do that is from the front viewport. So move these two till about there. Move this thing till about there. All right, so that's going to coincide with that line. Make sure it's see-through so I can actually see what's going on. like so. All right, awesome. Now, the thing that I want to do here is go on this vertex and hit the fillet. It's going to give us that look, but since I just wanted a small amount, like so. There we go. All right, awesome. Now, what I want to do here, the nice thing is I want to convert this to an edible poly. But the thing with creating an edible poly out of line is that on one of the ends, you're always going to get this bit of an issue here. So edit poly, select both of these edges, control backspace, so you really get rid of those. And now what I want to do is I want to add in a symmetry modifier on this thing on the z-axis. Let's see if the thing is going to coincide over here. All right, so let's move it just a tiny bit like so. And I want to have something that is going to make this thing turn. So that is actually going to be very, very easy to create. What I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate both of these and use a circle. This circle is going to be about that big. Move it upwards. And now what I'm going to do here is put an edit poly, delete the bottom half of this circle, like so. And then move it into position so it's more or less where it's supposed to be on the chair. So let's end the isolation. I think it's going to be fine over there. Let's try it out on this side. See where the thing is going to lead. It should be about there. All right, so move it or rotate it around like so. There you go, like that. And what I want to do is now select all of these vertices and move them down just a tiny bit, like that. And now select both of these caps, delete them, attach this one. And now what I want to do here is go and select that border and that and bridge them together. So with those two selected, hit the bridge, select this one and this one, hit the bridge. And now since we have this bit of a skew, what I can do is just make it easier for me, select that one, select that edge, control and backspace, and that is going to make it so that line goes straight to this turn and turns the corner perfectly, so no more issues. So there I have that metallic portion for the backrest, and what I can see here is that there is some sort of a plate on the contact between the wooden part and this metal. So in order to get that plate in, what I'm going to do is go in here in the edit poly, select these vertices, detach them as a clone, turn on the turbo mode again, and now on the thing that I just created, select all of those edges, move them inwards, scale them outward, move them out a bit till about there, scale it, select these. Let's try and make this planar, like so. There we go. All right, awesome. Now what I'm going to do is select the border, hold down Shift, pull it outwards so we get some thickness going on for that plate. Great, and move it in more into position where we want it to be, like so. And now if I put a turbo smooth on top of this, it's going to make it a bit more flat than I wanted, but I do want to have this corner a bit more sharp. So instead of making it this thick, this rounded, I'm just going to add one edge over here. And I think this should help with holding this line a bit better, yeah, like this. All right, awesome. Let's give this thing a different color. All right, great. We can work with that. So now the only thing that I'm missing out of this model is if I come in closer here, I want to see that I have some screws going in this portion of the chair. We have some on the bottom here, and then we have a few more screws going on the corners of this chair that are basically connecting the metal to the wood. So let's go ahead and create that set screw for the chair. Creating the screws is a pretty straightforward model, but we're going to try to make it even simpler, so once we do the unwrapping, it's going to be easy to unwrap as well. So for this, I'm actually going to start off with just a simple sphere. Just a sphere, like so. And what I want to do here is come in, put an edit poly on top of this thing. Actually, I can probably go even lower. Let's try to 16. Yeah, 16 is going to work just fine. So put an edit poly on top of the thing. Delete the bottom part, like so. And now for the top one, I actually do want to have a place where I'm going to have the screw go in. So the hole for the screwdriver. So for that, in order to make that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two rectangles. So one like going from there to there. But since we do have the enable and render viewport, I'm going to turn those two off and go from there to there. So awesome. Now these two I'm actually going to use as guidelines for cutting in. So let's move them downwards like so. Isolate both of these, and now what I'm going to do is with my top sphere selected, I'm going to turn on the cutting tools and snap from there to there, snap to there, go back there to there, and there. Like so. All right, awesome. So with that thing done, I actually no longer need these two edges. I'm gonna go in here, select all of these polygons in the middle and delete them. Now what I'm gonna do is do a bit of a cleanup because I really don't want to have something like this. So I'm going to take the target weld that thing in there, weld this thing in there, this thing there, that thing there, and I can probably go and do something like this as well. So we're no longer having triangles over there, like that. So with this is actually fine. All right, awesome. So what I want to do next is every time when you're cutting in huge geometry, make sure you select all of the vertices in that thing and you hit the weld on a small scale until you start seeing some changes. All right, so everything is 64 by 64. That's fine. It means all the cuts were made correctly. So I'm going to try and just make sure that all of these guys are on the same height. There you go, like that. Because I think there might be some skewing since we didn't, since we cut manually, you can always get some skewing. So like this. This is a very, very small detail. It's probably never going to be seen up close, but since we're making this, let's just make it so it's better. So what I want to do is select this thing, hold down Shift, and scale it inwards. Now, pull it down until you get it to a position where you want to have the depth of this thing, like so, as you can see, like that. And for this, I'm actually going to hit cap and now manually connect all of these edges. And for these, I can just hit cut across from there to here. All right, great. And what I want to do now is I want to add in one edge on the bottom here. It's going to help with holding the form better, and one at the top. So now if I turn on a turbo smooth, I'm gonna get something like this, which is more or less exactly what I was going for. You have that screw shape for the top of the screw. All right, so like actually I should probably get this thing to be a bit deeper. So let's open up the final view and just move this thing inwards like that. All right, awesome. And the next thing what I want to do is select the border here, move it upwards, hold down shift, move it in like so, and then one more time like that. So this is going to give us the form that we are going for. All right, so let me try one more thing. I want to add in one support edge at the corner. So let's see how that thing is going to work. So slide it inwards till about there. And now with the turbo smooth on, I'm actually getting a really nice and decent looking screw for this thing. I just want to get the corners and make them turn at a better rate. So select both of these edges and chamfer them around. Smaller value. The smaller the value, the sharper the corner. All right, like that. And I think this is going to be more than enough as a minor detail as we're having it over here. All right, great. So I can actually work with this. And awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and simply move it and put it into position to where we need it. So let's go ahead and place the screws wherever we need them. So I actually do have 1, 2, this side on the back side, 2 more, and the other side 2 more. That's 6. And then we have 2 more on this side. All right, so let's go and start adding them. As it is, though, I think I might actually want to scale this inwards like that, so it's a bit more flat. All right, so I'm going to start off with the bottom. So hold on shift and make this a copy and move it in position where you want it. And whoops, in this case I want to have it on the place where we made it flat over there. Now rotate it around and put it in over here like so. I think this is good enough. Actually see that there is a screw. Great, awesome. All right, so oops, I think it's a bit too big, so let's just scale it down a bit like that. It looks more in the right shape or the right size at least. Okay, so let's go down. There we go. Awesome. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So copy it over here. Copy, mirror it on the y-axis. In this case, I'm actually not going to do a transform, because if I do a transform, it's going to flip and make it so it's minus y. So I want to do it as a geometry. In this case, what it's going to do, it's simply going to add a mirror modifier in the stack. So I'm going to end up with something like this, which is exactly what I want. And again, select both of these, and now copy it over to this side and hit on the mirror. This time around, mirror it on the X. I'm going to mirror it as a geometry. Let's see, move it just a bit more in. Great. we can actually work with this. Well, honestly though, I think we might have missed this for a tiny bit, but it's not a big problem, because when you're doing this thing on your model, just make sure that this thing is gonna be really closer to the edge, so it looks like it's going inside the wood, like so. Alright, so once we have those screws in there, what I'm going to do is copy it over to the top, like so. Just I have my rotating unsnapped, so I can freely rotate it to wherever I need it until I think it's the right rotation. So one should be over here, like so. One more on this side. Pull it upwards, rotate it a bit, like that. Two more on the other side. So pull it over there. Again, I'm going to mirror this on the x-axis, like so. And the only thing that I'm missing is putting in a few more screws over there. And I guess I'm probably actually going to need to put in some screws that are going to hold out this metal part. For this one, I'm actually going to turn 180 and hold the metal part on with the actual seat of the chair. So like that. Put it over here, one as well. And probably pull these back a bit, like that. Great. Oh, and another thing that I just noticed is that these polygons are actually ending up as an angon. I don't want to have angons because they're gonna create a bit of a problem later on. So I'm going to inset this thing and collapse, inset and collapse. I'd much rather have geometry that's quads or even triangles for something like this. Let's just go ahead and chamfer this a small, very small amount, like that. Two edges in there, and a turbo smooth on top of this, and it's going to have a really nice look to it, like that. Awesome. And the only thing I guess that I'm missing is a few more screws on the back here as well. All right, great. And let's just rotate it around until it kind of fits the chair. So move it inwards, like so. All right, awesome. One more on the other side, and I can actually see the back side of this thing, but I'm pretty sure that we're probably going to have some more over here. So let's just add in two more screws, one in here to hold this thing in, like so, and one more over here. All right, so with all of these screws added into a chair, I think that we have quite a bit of the geometry that we were missing for the fine details. So let's just check. Oh, yeah, I just missed out two more. That's supposed to be in here. So one is going to be over there. One on this side. And now that I'm actually taking a look at this model better, I realize that this chair has a lot of screws holding it together. which is going to make it a bit of a, a drag when we're trying to unwrap all of these. Alright, so I guess now we are at the point where we have all of the screws modeled out for the chair. Alright, so for now that would be it with the modeling phase. I'm probably gonna go in and do a few small touch-ups on this seat because I'm not 100% happy with how it looks like, but in the next video we're going to continue with unwrapping this model and then see how we can finalize it and render it out. So hope you guys had fun and you managed to learn something new. If you do have any questions, leave them below. I will meet you in the comment section of the video. If you enjoyed the video, then please click the like button, and if you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do so. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.